Do you want to be ahead of the game for the latest in arts, music, cuisine, and entertainment across the Middle East's most dynamic capital cities? Al Monitor is proud to launch our City Pulse newsletters, focused exclusively on local news, starting in Riyadh, Dubai, Istanbul, and Doha. Each week, our on-the-ground writers in these cities cover the latest cultural happenings and trends, so you have everything you need to know for the best local experiences. To subscribe for free, go to almonitor.com, that's al-monitor.com, and sign up on our newsletter page.
Welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief. I'm Adam Lucente. 2 Israeli embassy staffers were shot dead in Washington on Wednesday night, outside the Capitol Jewish Museum. They had been attending an event on humanitarian diplomacy hosted by the American Jewish Committee when they were shot. The suspect, police said, chanted "Free, Free Palestine" while in custody. The killings were condemned by the Israeli government as well as U.S. President Donald Trump, who said the shooting was, quote, based obviously on antisemitism. The victims were identified as Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgram. Lashinsky was a dual Israeli-German national and a Christian, while Milgram was Jewish-American. On Thursday, police and the FBI raided the home of suspect Elias Rodriguez, who remains in custody. A manifesto purportedly written by Rodriguez mentions the Gaza war as a possible motivation for the attack. Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke on the phone Thursday about the incident. In this episode, we speak to the head of Al Monitor's Israel Pulse, Rina Bassist. Rina provides an overview of Israeli concerns about the shooting and the situation facing its citizens abroad, as well as how the Trump administration's efforts to tackle anti-Semitism in the U.S. are perceived in Israel. Here's the interview. Rina, welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief.
Thank you, Adam, for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. The first question is, how do the Israeli government and Israelis in general view acts of violence like this in the diaspora?
I have to say, Adam, that the Israel National Security Council has been issuing travel warnings for Israeli tourists already since October 8th, I would say, 2023, so one day after the Hamas assault. And while this terrible shooting in D.C. last night obviously shocked all of us, it was also not so surprising, I think, for Israelis, because all signs were there that such a terrible act could take place. Now, Israelis know that when they travel abroad, especially when traveling to Europe, but also when they travel to the United States or to other destinations, they should not wear kippah, they should not wear other signs that would identify them as Jews or as Israelis. And lately, the same National Security Council even recommended not to speak Hebrew loudly when in crowded venues. We all remember, Adam, the violent scenes, I think, in Amsterdam last November around the Europe League football match between the local team Ajax and Israel's Maccabi Tel Aviv. Israeli fans were chased by Dutch fans. They were beaten up. Others had to hide, not to be caught by the people running after them. And to this, we must, of course, add the very dramatic rise in anti-Semite acts, both in the United States and Europe in the past 19 months. So definitely not a very pleasant, not a very reassuring feeling when you are an Israeli tourist abroad.
And are there any indications that Israeli embassies or other institutions will increase security in response to this shooting?
Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu actually announced this morning that security will be enhanced around Israeli embassies, but I'm not so sure there is much more that really can be done. I think anyone who ever visited an Israeli embassy in the past 20 years, and of course more so since October 7, knows that we are talking about fortresses. The streets where the embassies are located are often completely blocked. Cars cannot drive by, you cannot see through the windows. You have both Israeli and local guards stationed in and around embassies 24/7. I'm assuming what can be done is probably just to remind the staffers again and again all the security measures they should take in their daily lives. But really the announcement about increasing security, I think it's more politics than anything else.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Rina Bassist after this short break.
Today's transformation of the Middle East is at the center of global geopolitics. Whether you're an analyst, diplomat, executive, or academic, you need the best reporting and analysis to understand what's really happening on the ground and what it means for the world. Al Monitor is the award-winning independent leader in Middle East news. From Riyadh to Beirut, Abu Dhabi to Doha, and Baghdad to Tehran, Our team of over 100 expert journalists report daily on the top stories driving the regional trends. Download our mobile app and subscribe to Al Monitor to follow what leaders and decision makers are reading every day. Go to almonitor.com, that's AL-MONITOR.com, and use promo code POD25, POD25, for a discount.
Okay, we're back. Rina, is the Israeli government satisfied with the Trump administration response to the shooting?
I think that many Israelis appreciate the firm attitude of President Trump vis-a-vis, first of all the demonstrations that took place in colleges and universities, which sometimes escalated into violence. And I have to say that in France, I hear similar things, that the Jewish community appreciates the commitment of the government to fighting anti-Semitism and to protecting Israeli and Jewish institutions. But of course, you cannot put a guard behind every Israeli or even every Jew in the United States. And I think all of us understand that there are limits to what the government can do, be it in Washington, the Trump administration, Paris, or anywhere else.
Rina, thanks a lot for your time, and we look forward to more of your reporting.
Thank you, Adam. Happy to be here.
Thanks for listening to the Al Monitor Brief. Be sure to follow Al Monitor for more on the stories impacting the Middle East. Until next time, I'm Adam Lucente.